How in the ever-living did Apple ship the macOS 26 liquid ass update? This is the worst update I have ever installed on my computer. I had the beta on my phone because I thought it was funny. I wanted to change the background with my friends to be something stupid. I've had the background of my text with Mark being a deep fried Chipotle order forever. It's great, just trust me. And I was like, oh yeah, cool. Okay, the macOS one is out. It's out of beta. I trust Apple. Apple wouldn't just destroy my computer. I have an M4 Pro Mac. I bought this 9 months ago. It's gotta be fine. They can't screw it up that badly. And yet somehow they did. I posted this on Twitter last week. I've already downgraded off of the OS, and we're gonna talk about that in a sec, but I had to document and record this. When I was going to use Cursor in just normal agent mode, or just use my browser, or watch a YouTube video, or manage the YouTube studio, my computer would light itself on fire. It would drop from 120 FPS down to 20 FPS. You can see it's just flickering and being gross while I'm doing a normal agent run here. It's completely unusable. My battery life went from a good solid 8 to 9 hours or whatever, all the way down to, there was one night where I went over to Theo's place, we were hanging out, had dinner, and then I was working on prepping the video for the day. I made 4 thumbnails. I watched back the video, which is what I do every day, very normal workflow, just opening Affinity Photo, opening the YouTube app, and watching a video. My battery went from 55% down to 5%. They completely destroyed my Mac with this update. It was so bad, I don't understand how this is possible. I was livid. That was a rough week. And then finally, I was losing my mind so badly. Theo just literally sat me down and forced me to format my computer and reinstall macOS 15, I think it is, whatever the last version was. And it works fine. I can jump between my programs really quickly now. There's no issues in anything. It's super fast, super clean. The OS that I knew and loved is back, and I'm happy again. I had to get that off my chest. Do not update your Mac. I've been seeing some stuff around Twitter, and when I had this post where I just basically crashed out about how unbelievably bad this was, the liquid ass update, I hate it. A lot of people were saying that there's some weird thing with Electron in the new update. I don't know nearly enough about Electron, or really don't know anything about macOS level system calls and all the stuff they're doing there. It's not my area of expertise. I have no real idea what's going on in there. I haven't researched it too deeply, so I don't want to say, but it seems like something weird was happening with Electron and some other stuff. But even outside of Electron apps, this was still really jank, really bad. A lot of people don't like the UI. Not a good update, but if you're on the old Mac update, it's still a really good way to do development. And the reason why I wanted to make this video is I wanted to finally go through and document how I set up my Mac to be a really good world-class developer experience. Not just you see a lot of people who are Linux, the Linux archetype of person, who will constantly talk about how ooh, you can jump between programs super quickly and it's super fast and you can do all these things and it's the ultimate customizable OS. I've dialed my Mac OS into being pretty much that good. I hit caps lock 2, I'm in my terminal. Caps lock 3, I'm in my editor. Caps lock B, I'm in my content browser. Caps lock 1, I'm in my work browser. It all just works instantly. You can set this up to feel as crisp as Linux, with the benefits of having I'm gonna get in trouble for this, but a real operating system where I can use Affinity Photo and Final Cut and all the programs I need to do my job. If I was unemployed, I would probably have gone down the Linux rabbit hole by now, but I'm very employed. I have real work I have to do. I really need to have a Mac, so I dialed it in to be a really good computer, and I wanted to talk about how I did that. So I think the easiest way to do this is I just want to run through all the things I'm using on my Mac to make it this good and the software I can't really live without. I will put timestamps on this video for each individual piece I end up talking about. This is not going to be a full tutorial. I haven't published these yet. I'll publish them before the video goes live, but I'll publish my karabiner config, which I'll talk about soon. I'll publish all of the config files you need for this stuff, the links to download everything. All of that will be down in the description and stuff like that. So if you want to follow along, just click the links, follow the instructions on there, and you'll be able to get it set up very similar to how I have it. I more just want to give you the high level because tutorials are boring. I don't like them. So first things first, I got my browsers. The 2 browsers I use, and yes, I do use 2 browsers, are Zen and Helium. If the browser company wasn't the incompetent dumpster fire that it is, I would still be on Arc, but Arc is very dead. If you want very detailed breakdowns on all this stuff, go look at my boss's channel. Theo has a bunch of really good videos on this, so I won't go too deep into this, but Zen is a really good, nice looking browser for content stuff. This is where I do YouTube Studio stuff. It's where I will post on Twitter. It's where I'll like just bring stuff up when I need it in a video or whatever. It's just a good like general workforce browser to have. But the problem with it is Firefox based. And Firefox is flawed. And also its developer tools are just not very good. The console doesn't feel as good. The network tab is much worse. I don't like the inspector nearly as much. I just need like good Chrome dev tools, but I don't really want to have Chrome. And Helium is an incredible like middle ground on that. I do all my development work in here. It works super well. It's super minimal, super fast. I love how like small the top bar is on this. I like sidebar. That's part of why I use Zen. Zen has like a really good sidebar. This doesn't have a sidebar, but it has a like tiny nav bar. Like this is smaller than I think anything else I've seen. So it's a really good browser. I'm happy with both of those. Then where things get like really interesting is Raycast. If you're on a Mac and you're not using Raycast, you are very much missing out. This is one of the most essential pieces of software for macOS, in my opinion, right now. If you haven't seen it before, you can just hit your Raycast hotkey. It'll pop up this little search window. If I wanted to open up, let's just say I want to open up Affinity. I can type in Affinity, it'll go through and open it up for me. If I wanted to go into Cursor, I can jump to that. Just like a way better spotlight search type thing with a bunch of cool extensions and extra commands. When I'm making thumbnails and stuff, I often need to like bring SVG logos in for a brand or something like that. Like if it's a React video or something, I need the React logo. There's an extension in Raycast where I could just type SVGL, hit enter, and then I get like a full nice list of all the SVG logos you could probably want. I'll just do this. I'll copy the dark SVG text. I can paste it. And now I have the React logo. I've built a lot of tools around this quick SVG background, which is now a feature in PicThing 2.0, which will be released soon, hopefully, TM. That is all built around the SVG functionality you can get out of SVGL, and there's a lot of other stuff like this. There's good extensions, but this is also the thing that powers my crazy keyboard shortcuts. If you go into extensions here, and I take a look at like Helium, we'll use that as an example here. You can see my hotkey for Helium is this weird looking like Control, Option, Shift, Command 1, which is a bizarre keyboard shortcut that I would never actually press, but what that does is whenever I hit this hotkey, it'll just instantly bring Helium up to the front and in focus. When I'm using my Mac, I never use like the full screen thing. Like I never hit this button. That's when you'll get like the janky, awkward animations where you like swipe between apps. That's how I used to do it. Now I just like full screen them, quote unquote, get them to be as big as possible. You can still see I have my top bar up here. And when you do this to like pop all of them out, I just have one desktop. I don't use the desktops feature. I have all these apps open and they're just kind of floating there. And the way I'm able to make this like not just hellishly annoying where like, oh, I'd have to, when I open up this guy, I'd have to kind of drag him up here and then get him. Oh yeah, there we go. Oh, and then I'll focus there and just do weird shit like that. That's obnoxious. I have an actual window manager here where I can just hit a shortcut. It'll full screen it automatically for me. I'm using Rectangle for that, which we'll talk about later. Because what I want to talk about right now is the way I get this hotkey to actually work. And that is with karabiner elements. This is something Theo showed me, and it's like one of the most useful programs I've ever installed in my life. I love it so much because what it allows me to do is it allows me to set up a hyperkey. If you're not familiar with like what a hyperkey is, for me, it is my caps lock key. So whenever I hit caps lock, it doesn't do caps lock. It's now bound to do one of two things. If I just tap it and press it once, it will fire an escape command. It's bound to escape. And then if I like hold it down and then chord it with something else, like I do caps lock B, that'll open up the Zen browser. And then if I do caps lock 1, that opens up Helium. And all of that is configured through Karabiner. Like I said, this is not a tutorial video, but I will have linked down below a full link to my Karabiner config. You just download Karabiner elements, you go into modifications to complex modifications, add a new rule, you can edit these. This has everything I need to map my caps lock key to be the hyperkey. It's just so absurdly useful. I love this program so much. I'm also, like I said earlier, have a window manager and I'm using Rectangle for that. It's like a really simple, nice window manager type thing. It has a bunch of hotkeys and ways to like really make your windows nice, but I don't even really use it for that. I pretty much am always, even on my desktop, like my big 32-inch 4K monitor here that I'm recording at, I never have like two things open side by side. I'm always full screened, and I pretty much literally just use Rectangle as the full screen button. And the keyboard shortcut for that by default is Control Option Enter. So like if I just did this, like get it down here, I do Control Option Enter. It's now in full screen. I basically just, whenever I open up a window for the day or I go from desktop to laptop, sometimes my windows will be a little screwed up. Just press that shortcut real quick and you'll get it back. super, super nice. I built out this little thing on my personal site that basically just shows you, it has my karabiner config on here. So this is the thing that I showed earlier. It has a list of all my key bindings, and I made this, well, Claude, but like I told Claude to make this. I told Claude to make this nice little visualizer for the keyboard. So you can see like caps lock is the hyper key. So, and then these are all just like the keyboard shortcuts with caps lock. So caps lock space is raycast. It'll just show you that that's raycast. This is Zen, this is Notion, this is Superhuman, this is Discord, Cursor, Ghosty, Helium. It's just, it shows you the way I'm kind of using this to give you an idea of how it is. I really like having my like dev work stuff just locked in up here. Discord probably shouldn't be this far up. I probably should put that in the void somewhere so I'm less likely to press it. But 1, 2, 3 are like super important. I recently bound T3 chat. I downloaded their PWA for desktop because I wanted it as a like hotkey shortcut. So again, this needs to be updated. But like all my work stuff is just right up here. So like when I'm in Cursor, I'm doing stuff in here. If I need to jump to my terminal, I can. If I need, you get the picture. It's really, really nice. Again, all this will be linked down below. The last like really macOS specific type program that I'm using, at least for dev stuff, is Ghosty. This is a terminal emulator that I think most of you have probably already heard of by now. It's really good. It's really performant. I was using Warp for a while. It is like actually pretty good. They've done a really good job with it. But because of just kind of the way I've been building things lately, I wanted to get back into Tmux. I've been using Tmux for everything, so I can hop around here in my terminal really quickly, like jumping between panes and windows and stuff like that. I'm also using my hyperkey for my leader key, so I can do like caps lock : that's my leader key in Tmux. So I can do like leader key 2, it'll take me in here, leader key 3, take me back. It's just a really nice way to use the terminal super efficiently, and Ghosty is a good terminal. Outside of like these, the rest are more kind of just up to you. The two programs that will make it so that even if Windows suddenly magically got really good, or I really, really want to do Linux for some reason, Final Cut Pro and Affinity Photo are just two Mac. I guess Affinity isn't fully Mac specific, but it works really well on Mac. Final Cut is fully Mac specific. These are just two programs I cannot live without. For my job, I do a lot of video editing and I do a ton of like photo editing because I make all of Theo's thumbnails and all of my own thumbnails. I need these two pieces of software in order to do my job, and they either don't exist outside of macOS or they work the best on macOS. So if you're doing any creative stuff, I cannot recommend these enough. They're just so, so good. Final Cut, the magnetic timeline is magical. I have really good key bindings set up for that so that I can quickly chop through videos and stuff like that. And then Affinity, it's just Affinity, it's the best. And from there, there's just a lot of other miscellaneous programs that are pretty much just up to you. The code editor of choice for me is Cursor at this point. It's the best code editor right now, in my opinion. I know NeoVim is really good, and there's a world where if I sat down and I really, really, really got into it, it would be like my thing and I would love it. But I've set up my VS Code really, really well, where like I have a really quick way to fuzzy find in between files. I have a way to jump in and like open and close directories and jump into files super quickly. I have Vim motions set up within Cursor, really VS Code. I have this dialed in to be like a hands-on keyboard level editor. I don't have to like bring my mouse over and do all this stuff. I have it configured very similar to how I would have NeoVim configured. And I also get the benefits of Cursor tab, which is like the best tab model by a mile. It's not even close. No one else, although there's a lot of other companies trying. I've tried all of them. None of them are good. Zed's is like fine, but it's just worse. I get the best results out of Cursor tab by a mile. The Cursor agent is also just like really good. It's a damn good editor. There's just not much else to say about it. This is a little unrelated to direct macOS stuff, but this is something that I did when I was reconfiguring my computer last week after resetting it. And I think it's a good video to sneak this into. I wanted to show you guys this little thing I added. I've been using opencode for my main like coding CLI agent tool thing. I've tried and used most of them. I've done a lot with AMP. AMP is good. Have not really tried Codex all that much. Claude Code, I've not had a good experience with. It's a little stupid and also doesn't have LSP support, which is really obnoxious. So it'll like do a big thing, be really confident about it. You go back into Cursor after running that thing, and then you just see 12 type errors in the file because it doesn't have access to the LSP server, but opencode does, which is like one of the best things about it. So I've just kind of been using this, been having a really good time with it. Mostly just been using Grok Code Fast 1. I'm actually going to do a dedicated video on this purely because it's such a surprisingly good model. I've been lighting way too much money on fire with Claude lately, But the reason why I wanted to talk about this in a macOS video is because you can set up these like custom slash commands, and I'll again have all this linked down below with like, you can just copy paste them in, but you can do slash. And then if you go down here to the bottom, you'll see I have these 3 extra commands. I have this cursor command, this ghosty command, and this tmux command. So I have like a really crazy tmux setup in here where like I can jump between my windows super fast. I can jump to 4, I can jump back to 7, I can split this, I can close that. It's really well set up and really dialed in. I don't know a line of tmux config. I haven't even looked at it. I don't know how the syntax works. I don't know how any of it works. All I know is where the tmux config lives. It's in like your home directory or whatever. I read that in the docs. And then from there, I set up this little command where when I run /tmux and hit enter, it will basically run this like preset prompt, which will tell the model to read my tmux config, basically put it in context. It now has access to where the config is. And then now whenever I want to change something, I can just tell it to make the change. I can go in here, and if I wanted to like change my leader key to be something else, I could have it do that. If I wanted to add a new shortcut, I could do that. This is how I did my entire tmux config without having to read the docs once. These models have gotten so damn good, and a lot of these tools have pretty generic and easy to work with configs that it's not like a hard problem. It's more just a like, oh, okay, I'm going to go scroll through the docs to find the weird behavior I want. This makes that 10,000 times easier. And like I said, I also have this for tmux. I have it for ghosty. I didn't really have to use it much for ghosty, but I still have it. And then cursor, this is another one that's really helpful in order to get stuff like caps lock quote to bring me over here in Vim mode into my sidebar so I can open and close directories. And if I wanted to go into my bun.log file, I can hit space, and then now I'm in here. All of this stuff was set up not by me. I didn't read any VS Code files. I purely just used this little tool that I wrote for myself, and it's really nice. But yeah, like I said, this will be linked down below somewhere for you to copy paste these little prompts and configs. It's awesome. Obviously, like, you know, there's other stuff like I have Discord. It's what I use for talking to all my friends and also for managing and running Theo's channel and everything we need to do there. It's just like kind of self-explanatory. I really like Obsidian for like my notes app, Notion for like real project management stuff. I don't want to leak anything out of Notion. I wish I could show you all the crazy stuff we have set up. I know a lot of people are on the train of like, you should just use Obsidian for everything, but for the way we run, like especially Theo's channel, we cannot live without Notion. There are like 5 very large databases that I am constantly maintaining for all the videos, all the ads, all the sponsors, all the contracts, everything we're doing to make that channel work. The behind the scenes stuff happens in Notion, and there's no other software has come close to being that good. I don't know if they ever really intended for it to be used this way, but they just accidentally made the best dynamic database product for productivity. Just too damn good to pass up. I also use Superhuman for my email client. It's not worth it for 99% of people, but email is a very large part of my job and what I do for a living, so it is worth it for me, and I tricked Theo into paying for it, so who cares? Like, it's expensive, but if I don't have to pay for it, I'll take it. It's a much better email client. Oh, and one other thing before I forget, yaak. Yaak is like a really nice just desktop HTTP client. It's kind of like Postman if it didn't have all like the enterprise annoying bullshit tied into it. Like for my local fetch wrapper thing for just testing HTTP requests, I just want something that's clean and performant and allows me to do this. And it does this super well. I have that on caps lock Y. Really nice little program, very underrated. Oh, and another one. Sorry, I'm doing these off the top of my head. shottr. shottr is like the best way to do screenshots on macOS. I have it bound to caps lock and then like the side braces. So I do caps lock right brace. I can just do this and then take a screenshot. If I want to edit it, I want to like give it a background and then like do something weird in here. Like you just do stuff like this. If I hit escape, which for me is caps lock, it will be copied. I can go into Affinity, I can paste it. I now have my screenshot in here. Again, just stupidly useful for what I do for work, for thumbnails, but also just like general normal things like sending screenshots in the Discord. This makes it easier. I have caps lock right for just an instant full screen capture. Thing is really, really good. It's a great piece of software. And that's pretty much everything. I think that pretty much rounds out the list. There's miscellaneous stuff, but this is the stuff that matters. And really, hopefully the thing that I want to make this video for is just to show that to get power user level performance and setup on your computer, you don't have to use Linux. You don't have to go through and do all the crazy Arch stuff and set up a window manager and do all that crap. You can do this all in macOS. It's very possible. And if you set it up right, you get something that's pretty damn good, and I can't really imagine living without. Like I said, all the links for all this stuff is down below. If you enjoyed this video, I normally do like more heavy coding stuff. So if you're into that kind of thing, make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I'll talk to you again soon.